Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Origin Story, where we dive into how your favorite YouTubers got started and where they are going. I am Mike.
And I'm JP, and today our guest is Autumn Bates of her YouTube channel. Autumn Bates?
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here today. Okay, good. I was just making sure that was Autumn Bates. For some reason, I thought it was Autumn L. Bates.
Autumn L.
No, good. Yeah, I was like, I just double check. You know, you have sometimes you have that
moment of panic where you're like,
it's Autumn Bates, a titled YouTube channel,
Yep.
Autumn Bates. So here we are. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That is a good question, though, which I want to talk about later. Is like you have a branding Autumn L. Bates, and then your self-titled YouTube channel. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We've already gone down some definite rabbit holes before this, so. For those who don't know our guest, Autumn Bates is a certified clinical nutritionist, helping to create a better and healthier life for everyone on her self-titled YouTube channel. She has a passion for providing the science behind nutrition and exercise on her channel, but she provides it in this amazing balance between too much science, but very, very easy things to understand. It's something that is very hard to do, because I can imagine, Autumn, you want to go down the rabbit hole of all the science because that's your master's degree and everything that you love, but you got to keep it somewhat high level and easy to understand. And you do it very, very well. So Autumn has a master's in sports nutrition and has helped professional athletes, including Elliott Sloan, who is a hero of mine. So I'm really stoked to see that on your channel, and thousands of others crush their goals and become better people. Her channel is home to over 325,000 subscribers who have watched her 331 videos over 20 million times. Tune in twice a week to see a new video from Autumn and help motivate you to find your best self. Also, check out her other social media so you can stay up to date with what she has going on and get involved in some of her challenges. That is something I think is a really interesting way to, bring your audience into some fun,
Yeah. Challenges are always just a fun way to actually get people involved and have the steps and strategies put into place so that they know what they're doing. They have a group to do it together. It's more than anything, it's the group mentality and having a support system where other people are in it as well. I think that's where the real value of the challenges come in.
Yeah.
Gotta have some skin in the game.
Absolutely. Right. I also think it's such an interesting way. It's not just like responding to comments or, doing the ask me anything on Instagram. Like it's really a great way to create a true community that is behind the channel itself. And if you look at the numbers behind the channel, you have something that's very, very rare, which is your subscriber count to your almost average watch count are pretty close. So like everyone who comes to your channel is very much there. We talked about this earlier because they want to know about what's going on. They have a question about something, if it's keto or if it's fasting or if it's a new fad that you're going to break down, something like that.
Yeah. And it's funny that you're talking about in the beginning on that balance between the science and the actionable steps of what you can actually do, because that is a very fine line to toe. I found that around I think it was like late 2019, after I first got in my rhythm and like figured out, okay, I can do this whole like YouTube thing. I started to go a little bit, I think, too much into the science, because that's where my mind is and that's where I'm always focused on and studying and researching. So it's easy for me to accidentally like slip into that realm. And that's where you lose people. Like not saying that people can't follow it. It's just it's so easy to get into the nitty gritty that it's no longer applicable. And that's where I found my channel was really useful to everyone, because there is so much really great information out there. There are so much research, so much information around nutrition that's constantly being found out, but there's a gap between what it is that people can do and how they can take that information and apply it to real life and what the researchers are actually finding.
Yeah, no, and you do put a lot of science into it, but you bring it back with like what this means for you in layman's terms. Like, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but like when you're talking about overworking out, you're going to put yourself into this, all the science behind like what's going to happen in your body. And you're like, what that really means is you're not going to burn any fat. You're actually going to tell your body to force you to build fat, which is the opposite of what you want to do. So like maybe overtraining is not what you should be doing, and here's how you figure out how to do it. So I love how you like
Right.
circle it back. But the people who want the science, it's there. You leave them
Yeah.
with enough. It's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Very digestible
Yeah.
content. You know, you got
Very
to be able to extract the nutrients out of it. If you can't get the nutrients out
Yeah.
of it, then what's the point, right? So
Right.
let's get the good
That's the
stuff. Get
same
digested.
joke my fiance always makes whenever he's talking, because he actually works at Google, and I
course.
used to go to the YouTube space. And whenever he would introduce me to someone, he'd be like, "Oh, you should check out her channel. It's very digestible."
Yeah.
And
Oh
like
my
do a
God.
hard wink there. I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, Trevor.
It's like, all right, the dad jokes are coming in already. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, exactly. He's prepared.
Yeah.
you got
No,
to
it's
get them.
perfect.
You got to get them warmed up, because then when you have kids later, then they're just ready to go.
And then he's ready.
Yeah.
He's been warmed up though since like we were 20 years old. So he's fully ready to have all the dad jokes on hand.
Excellent.
Good.
He'd fit right in.
I still am warming up, and I'm on potentially kid number 2 tonight. We'll find out.
Wow.
But yeah, it's crazy imminent. But let's get back into who you are, Autumn, and where you came from. So growing up in California, which I find, especially in where you grew up in the Manhattan Beach kind of communities, it tends to be very focused on being outside, and there's a lot of people who are focused on nutrition and health and wellness in general, much more so than other states, maybe like, I don't know, the South and things like that, where biscuits and going to Popeyes is more prevalent. How did you find that growing up in Manhattan Beach in that kind of community help you to become the person you are today? Was that the fundamental kind of subconscious?
I wouldn't say it was growing up in Manhattan Beach, because growing up in Manhattan Beach wasn't like what it is to grow up in Manhattan Beach now. Like when I was growing up, at least, it wasn't like LA had touched it. Even though it was in LA, it didn't have that same type of LA emphasis I think people think of when they think of LA, where it is very like everyone's ripped, everyone's tan, everyone's like, so focused on how they look. There's definitely aspects of that, but I don't think that's what really affected my interest 100%. And I always give credit to my dad. It was all my dad. My dad is a chiropractor, and he taught me how the body heals itself, how the body can do a lot of really amazing things. And I always loved food, and from having that perspective of the body heals itself from the inside out, I wanted to apply that with food and see how, if food's your main source of energy that you get every single day, if we take it in 3 times or more, depending on what style of you're eating per day, it has to have this huge impact on how your body heals, what type of like goals you can achieve through food. So it was more so less growing up in LA and being in Manhattan Beach, more so the chiropractic philosophy that my dad has and how he instilled that into me and how I feel like I've applied that to nutrition.
Yeah. So I'd say, I guess, to tag onto that, I mean, with your dad being a chiropractor and all that, I mean, obviously he's very kind of, health focused, science-based focused as well. But I mean, typically that comes from like a healthy household. Did you grow up playing a lot of sports? I mean, what was that like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. So I think I played pretty much every single sport you can play. I played basketball for 10 years, soccer for 11. I did club volleyball. I was in junior guards, which for anyone who's not in California, it's like a summer camp where they train you how to be a lifeguard, essentially. So I did that. I was on the swim team, nowhere near the level that you were competing at, but I was on the swim team and dance team. I did pretty much everything. So sports was also, I did the triathlons, marathons, all of that. So I love sports. Wow. I love the idea of competing. I love the idea of how you can make yourself better. And just definitely nutrition was just a natural component of that. Like you have to have that component to go along with being an athlete too.
But did you think of that when you were a kid though? Because like I played, pretty high level soccer when I was a kid, but I was like, I want McDonald's like immediately after this. Or like, I think I ate, we were like latchkey kids. So I was eating like Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast and like whatever for lunch. And then I'd get home and I would make like a bag of popcorn, of like Blasto butter popcorn, and then go to soccer practice or football practice, stuff like that. So like, was your family always into this kind of like nutritious space, or were you kind of
you grew up the way that I wanted to grow up when I was that age? Like I wanted to have access to all those things, but I just didn't. I mean, I'm thankful now that I didn't. My parents were the parents who had like carrots and hummus and like guacamole at the house. And all my friends would come over and be like, "Oh, it sucks. You don't have any food here."
Yeah, you're like,
and then
what am
I'd
I
go
supposed
over
to
to
eat?
my friend's house. Yeah, and they would have like the cabinet of like fruit roll-ups. And oh my God, I remember one of my friends, so we'd go over to her house, and for breakfast, her dad would make us these pancakes where it's just like pure sugar pancakes. And then on top of the pancakes, he then put butter and more sugar on top, like just sprinkle sugar on top of pancakes and then roll it up. So you crunch into it. It's like crunchy, sugary bites of just pancake sugar.
And we'll put it on the record that that's how you should grow
what's
up.
not to love?
It's like
that's the basic fundamental way to eat as a
there's
kid.
there's the balance between like the carrots and hummus and like losing one of your like legs to diabetes. So you kind of have to find that middle ground. It sounds like I'm just always curious, especially with like nutritionists. It's like, how did they grow up? Either, I don't know what it seems like in kind of in the field. But I'm always curious of how they got to this space of like, were you always nutritious? So like you wanted to be nutritious, but were you like sneaking snacks and stuff like that when you were a kid? You're obviously going to your friend's house and being like,
I didn't want to when I was younger. I just loved food when I was younger, and my parents were really healthy, and they still are very healthy. So, I was like taking collagen supplements at like 9 years old when it was still considered the poor man's protein, because it's not a complete protein. So collagen used to be super cheap.
That's hilarious.
But I was like doing that at a very young age, and I just loved food. I loved making food. I remember like I wasn't like a cool kid growing up. Like I had friends, but I like wasn't a super like cool kid growing up where I was like part of the popular group or anything. But I would on the weekends like have specific memories of like in 6th grade walking down to our local grocery store and like writing down the ingredients I needed for a recipe and just spending the whole afternoon going through the aisles and studying all the different food and then getting that food and bringing it home, like making an awesome recipe like that. I just really liked food when I was younger. I wasn't necessarily interested in the how it affects you aspect until I started more like when I was like 17, 18, training for triathlons and seeing how, like the food that you eat can really have an impact on how you perform.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So you said you were in 6th grade when you were doing that?
Yeah. I was definitely.
Your parents where you been? You'd be like, I've just been at the store.
Yeah.
But I got like a great recipe. Because most kids aren't really cooking for themselves. Like for me, it was like, I always famously say that's how I got into cooking, was just grilled cheeses, because I think that's the gateway to cooking. Not your gateway. You took a different path, but it's like that's interesting that you would. I mean, because most kids aren't into cooking like that, so it's weird. Like, was your family big into cooking? Like, what kind of role did food take place in your family?
My mom cooked, and she made all of our food. Again, they're very healthy, so she understood that making the food at home would be the best option for us. However, it's not like she loves to cook. It's not like my mom like would spend time with me on like trying to teach me the intricacies of like cooking theories. Like she just was always cooking. And so I found a natural interest in it, and I would want to help and like make the meals with her. Mm-hmm. But she's very controlling. And so she'd be like, you can stir this for 6 times and stop. Like, don't do anything else.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I love that idea. I've told that I can kind of be that way in the kitchen as well. So you didn't get like the Sunday donut day, dad goes out, picks up donuts, bring them back.
Okay. So there was still a little aspect of that. Like I definitely remember as a kid calling my dad because he would get off work at like 6 or 6:30 and his office was right across the street from the grocery store. And I have a lot of memories being like, Dad, can you pick up chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, please? And he would bring it home. Like that. There's still that normal aspect of like being a kid, but it just didn't happen all the time. Like we didn't have it at the house. We didn't have sodas. Like we would have good high quality food, which is kind of the approach I have with nutrition too, is that you most of the time eat really great health supporting foods. And then there's still that emotional aspect as well.
Yeah. And so then you said like, what was the point of your knowledge of food and how it affects you is when you started to do triathlon, which is a community within itself that is very much huge conscious community. And I feel like it's one of those things once you start doing some, you go down a huge path, which is awesome. I love the community. My dad just did a race on Saturday. I didn't do it because of the potential expectation not to be stuck somewhere because they closed it where we were doing it. There was a road. So what was your introduction to triathlon? Was it because your dad was doing it? Was it because you wanted to do a specific race? How did you find that sport?
My dad did do triathlons when he was younger, but I don't even remember how. I'm just really competitive with myself, and I really like to compete, and I really like to see what I'm capable of. And this idea of doing a triathlon seems so, especially at that age at 17, where most people aren't actively seeking out exercise. It's like for your
Right.
sport, but pushing myself to do something that other people weren't was the more alluring part. So I think it was more so just being competitive with myself and wanting to do something that other people weren't doing, especially at my age.
That's such a strict thing to hold to at that age. We're 17, most kids are out, whatever, partying, having fun. Maybe they're playing their regular school sports, but aren't really doing much on the weekends outside of like what they need to be doing. Um, I commend that because there's not a lot of people that do that. Also, it kind of sparks this whole piece, even going back to you being in sixth grade and going to the grocery store. It's like there's a lot of research, there's a lot of discovery, there's a lot of understanding. There's this whole scientific process that literally goes into understanding these triathlons and food and how you should fuel yourself and how you should train. Were you always like very analytical and trying to break things down like that your whole life?
Yeah, I have a hard time understanding something or even remembering something if I don't understand it. Like I have to know the how in order to, and the why in order to remember something. Like I was always so jealous of kids in college who could memorize everything like the night before a test. That I'm not capable of that. I don't have that type of memory. I would have to be the person who would have to study from the moment that
Get the
information
highlighter.
was covered. Yes, like I had all of my notes down, and I was studying every single night. Like I had to do that in order to do well. Like I couldn't just memorize something. And I think that's helped me because it's the fact that I've put so much effort into understanding how things work that I can translate that to others and help them understand how something works. I just think oftentimes a lot of people don't stop and try and think about like, well, why would that happen? Like why is it that this type of food causes problems, but this other food doesn't? Like what's the main thing to that causes that? I just have a very curious nature that I need to know why that works and how that happens.
Yeah,
That makes sense too, especially because when you're doing a try, one of the things that everyone tells you going into it is like, know your nutrition before the race. So then you get like the ideas of like, especially with like how your daily routine, like using salts and using all these things, and like, okay, you want to use the products that you're going to use race day beforehand because you don't want to get an upset stomach. And then you start to realize, oh wow, like if I ate a Snickers during my race, I'd get an upset. It's not like those things are very, very much apparent in the community where like maybe not so much in soccer and in football and things like that. You see different things. I think football especially has changed significantly with nutrition over the past decade for sure. You don't see anyone getting advertised like eating hamburgers and things like that. They've moved on to a different world, but it's still there. I think there's still certain things, but I like that idea from triathlon. You pulled that thread really hard. So when you go to college, you go to university and then you determine your major. Was there even ever a time in your life where like, maybe I'm going to get a marketing degree? Accounting could be nice for me. Or was it always like, I knew what I love? You're definitely not accounting. Okay.
No. Yeah, actually, I originally applied to school to be a director, like a film director.
Okay.
Like that's the direction I initially was going to go down.
This will go nicely. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. I initially, way back to that sixth grade time when I was interested in food, we had a really great film program at my middle school, my high school. So I was taking film and wanted to be a director from sixth grade. So like, what is that, 11 years old. So I had about 7 years worth of like creating films, working on Final Cut Pro. So I thought like, that's what I wanted to do. So initially, when I first started to go into college, it was for film. But then I very, very quickly, like as soon as I got there, decided like, I don't know about this film thing. How about like a science backing? And I don't even think I knew what I specifically wanted to do. Initially, I was like, okay, a medical doctor or a naturopath, or like there's a lot of different ways I was deciding on where my biology degree could take me. And it wasn't until I transferred to University of Arizona where I finally like had the time to sit down and be like, so what is it that actually makes me happy? What is it that I focus on? And my mind always just kept coming back to how food affects the body. And even though something like a naturopath was alluring to me because it was more generalized on how you can help people, all the ways that I felt like I could help people was through food. So I was like, why should I do something more general and I can be really great at something really specific?
Yeah. So I'll take it even back to just high school. Were you like, was that kind of your, I mean, just based off of kind of, I think our minds think the same way as far as like research and well, you learn a little bit different than I do. I'll say I'm a visual learner, but I mean, were you
I would
taking, I mean,
actually say
obviously
I'm
you're
a
taking,
visual learner as well.
yeah, well, you got both. So apparently that works well. I don't have that, but so did you, like in high school, were you drawn towards like the biology, the chemistry, anatomy? Like, was that
No,
always
no, no, not at all.
not
Like
at all?
I was
So you're doing
really,
sports, you're doing nutrition. So like, what did you like in well, it's hard to say what you liked in high school, but it's what were you drawn to
yeah,
like like coursework wise in high school?
I really, I mean, it's so all over the place. My favorite class was history, actually.
Oh,
I
really? Okay.
loved history, and yeah, and I think it's also seeing how things happen, like why
Right.
we got to where we are. Like it's kind of the same concept. And there's actually a lot of
It
history
is.
to nutrition that people need to learn, and I eventually want to do a YouTube series on this. But yeah, I wasn't interested in science at all. I was naturally pretty good at math. Like I didn't have to try too hard at math, but when it came to biology, I mean, I took what basic bio freshman year of high
Yeah,
school. I
like
had
your
zero
standard
interest in it.
courses.
Yeah, and maybe it's just the teachers, like they weren't very inspiring, but I think I got like a C+ in that class, which
Yeah.
is, not great. And it wasn't until later on that I did, like when I actually got into college, that those
Okay.
classes, those biology classes, I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting how this all works. And then I started getting good grades.
Yeah, see that, then that's what I was curious about because like that's kind of where I excelled. Like was in high school is like these whether it's like biology or like AP Chem classes and like anatomy, and I was very good at that. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do chemistry. And then I got into college and I was like,
Mhm.
never mind. I'm not good at like a lot of this testing part of chemistry. Very good at the practical part, but not good at
Right.
that. So I was curious if you had any like formulation from there, but it seems like you were focused on
No. Yeah,
cooking weird recipes and spending your time at grocery stores analyzing ingredients.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
So it
and
was it
then
was somewhat scientific. I just didn't realize
yeah, well, also
it.
like it's funny the way I mean, even you said you liked history. There's a concept that's applied that's very you can almost paint not with a too broad of a brush, but you can kind of paint a broad brush as far as like history. It's like you need to go all the way back and you need to understand everything so you can get to where you
Yeah.
are today. It's funny that you get to that point. So you go to University of Arizona, correct? And then
Mhm.
that's where you start. Did you go there because of that coursework? Why'd you go to Arizona? Like
I
because
wish I could
it's
say it was for that reason, but it was actually for my fiance. So he was at school at U of A, and I was at Santa Barbara, and which is where we live now. But I was planning on transferring over to UCSB to go to the university here. And he was like, "Hey, well, we're dating, so you should probably come over here." So it actually worked out amazingly. It couldn't have worked out better because they don't have a nutrition program at UCSB, but they did at University of Arizona. And in fact, they have this amazing study abroad program where I was able to go study abroad in Italy, studying the Mediterranean diet for nutrition. So it all worked out. It just wasn't on purpose.
That's a pretty interesting. So I think this kind of goes into one thing that you do well on your channel too, is like diet is kind of this marketing word that's been created, as fads, where so many things change, but they're truly the same kind of thing, right? Like there's so many diets that just get rebranded and over. But one
Yeah,
of those that's not been rebranded a million times is the Mediterranean diet, because it literally is a cultural diet. It's not a diet. It really is like a cultural thing. So what did you
right.
learn from that?
From studying abroad for
Yeah.
the Mediterranean program,
Yeah.
you learn how bad nutrition science is, because you assume that like this idea of the Mediterranean diet being so perfect, so healthy, there's actually not very much research behind that, but it keeps on getting repeated over and over and over again. That Mediterranean diet ranks again in the top 10 for the US diet and health, whatever. Like there really isn't much research behind it. And the research that is behind it is all epidemiological. And when you actually learn, like this is something that I've been really trying to help my audience understand, is that when it comes to how great a study is going to be, epidemiological is one of the worst levels of studies there is, just because it by definition can't tell you cause and effect. So if you do any study with an epidemiological study, which just means that you're studying a population. So you're just looking at a population, seeing if you can find trends. And that's pretty much all an epidemiological study is. You can't.
Would you say that's very subjective? I mean, it's kind of subjective, yeah.
It is to an extent, because you're looking at how it is that you can connect the dots. Like, you're putting in your own bias there by just trying to see how you can connect the dots. It's still studies. Like, you can't manipulate the data so much where it's totally subjective, but there is going to be bias from that sense. With any other type of research, like if you think of studies for like a medicine, like if someone's taking a medication that's been passed through your bigger studies, you have a placebo group and then you have the test group. And so the test group, the only thing different about them is that they have this medication. You can't do that with nutrition. You can't change one thing when it comes to nutrition. And when you actually start to understand how the implications of that, you can see just how poor a lot of the studies are. And so when you see like, oh, new study says intermittent fasting will kill you, or new study says like a tomato is going to make you get autoimmune disease, like it's easy to get wrapped up in that. But if you have a basic understanding of how they're actually trying to exploit these studies for a headline,
right,
it's crazy.
They just want eyeballs, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get eyeballs, even if it, half the time. And then half the people will just read the title of the article and not really dive into it. We're like, actually, just kidding. This is just what people think.
Right.
And you go, I mean, it happens all the time. Yeah, it's the cash grab of title, or it's the cash grab of eyeballs, essentially.
Which I totally understand that, because YouTube, you have to have something that's like attention grabbing.
You wouldn't do that, would you? You would not do
definitely.
that.
It's a very hard ethical line, though, that you have to follow, because you'll see these other YouTubers who are getting so many views and they have these crazy types of titles that they're using. But you want to keep your morality as well.
Yeah.
Well, I want to pull back to one thing that I like about the Mediterranean diet, which I think you've kind of debunked in a way. It's like, but what I do like is when you go to those small European communities and small European towns, even the big grocery stores are locally farmed. So you're getting true produce. It's not like, one thing that I have a problem with in the States is we're getting avocados from Mexico, which is not bad.
Yeah.
But they're sitting on a truck for 16 days. They're going somewhere else. They're going to a facility. And so is the nutrition really there that you're getting? Is the lettuce that's been shipped 16 hours to you, sits on a shelf for 17 days before you eat it, are you really getting that? Where the one thing that's really great about those small communities is you're getting tomatoes that were picked 4 days ago. They weren't sprayed with an agent after they went. And that's something that I love.
There's definitely some truth to that. Although I think what actually makes the Mediterranean diet a little bit, what actually does make it great is it's how it views food. So how it treats food as, a meal that you sit and you enjoy, that you don't eat while you're on the road, that, there is a lot of intentionality that they have around their foods and keeping it more cultural. And when you keep something more cultural to how that food was always produced, there's reasons why throughout history, cultural traditions have developed in certain patterns as well. Like, for example, with the Italians, they traditionally will parboil their tomatoes, so it takes off that outer layer, and then they'll also take out the seeds. Like, that was something that when I was studying abroad, that we had our little Italian grandma who was teaching us how to cook these foods. She would show us to do, and we'd be like, well, why? And she's like, that's just how we always do it. But then you learn from different types of doctors, like, oh, the strongest amount or the most amount of lectins that are in a tomato that could cause an autoimmune issue for someone is in the seeds and in the skin. So it's like science is kind of uncovering what a lot of these cultures have been doing for a long time.
And that was just natural evolution. They just saw people who ate the whole tomato or something. They just saw that was negative for them. So, maybe if I take the skin off, maybe I take the seeds. All these things just happened over generations.
And then you lose that. They lose that story and they say, hey, that's how it's done. We don't know why, but then you can break it down. I knew the history nerd in you was going to come out. And this is exactly it. This is where it comes out, because it's like there's always a reason behind something if you go a little bit further back. I mean, food especially. It's like Imagine being the first guy that was eating potatoes when they were raw. You know what I mean? That guy, I think he died. I think that guy
he
died.
did not have a good day.
So there's a lot of history that goes behind it.
Nope.
What, do you have any other fun like history, like food
They
history
come
facts?
up as I talk, they come up, but I can't just like spout them out. Remember, my memory isn't crazy. It's just they get triggered every now and then.
Yeah, good. Well, we'll test you. We'll test you later.
Okay.
We come up with any.
All right. So then you go and get your master's degree, right? And I feel like at this point, your master's degree is a marriage of all of your love for food and the science behind food, and then your love for sports and competitiveness and how you can take eating and nutrition and what you're putting in your body and making you the most superb athlete. So is that the reason why you went to become a master's in sports nutrition, or was it just because it was convenient?
I mean, it's just the most interesting field in my opinion, because when it comes to nutrition, that's where the majority of the research is, because there's a lot of money to be made in supplements and in like people optimizing their physical abilities so that they can compete better, be faster, be stronger. So that's where all of the research is. And you can still pull a lot of really interesting nutrition information from a lot of those studies. Like even just during today's live stream, I was talking about how egg-based proteins are better at breaking down into proteins you can use for your muscles than soy. And we only know that because we know that from those athlete nutrition studies, but it's still highly applicable to anyone else. Like if you're eating, you would want to get the most out of your food if you possibly can, just anyone. And so that's where like an average person can take that same information and apply it to their lives too.
Yeah. When you you graduate, you get that degree, where do you go from there? Like what does that look like? Like career path for you? Like I graduated with a marketing degree, so it's like, I was like, I guess I'm just going to do sales. You know what I mean? I guess I'm just going to do that. What's the path that you go from there? Like, what are those steps that people that maybe are in that field, or maybe they're in college or they're looking at that degree, like where does it kind of go from there?
I took a very abnormal path. So I first graduated with my BS, my Bachelor's of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics. But then after that, instead of going on to get the RD, just because I didn't want to, it's not the route. So when you mentioned dietetics in the beginning, there is a big difference between dietetics and nutrition, and that's where you have to follow more of the USDA guidelines. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to keep up with what I felt like was more recent research. And so after that, actually, I took a break from school for, I think 2 years, and I worked for a health and fitness company, and I was their on-site nutritionist, and I'm also a certified personal trainer, so on-site personal trainer as well, where I was creating their meal plans and creating their workout programs. So I did that for about 2 years, got my certified clinical nutritionist while I was there, and then while working full time, I did the master's nutrition. Because I just felt like I needed more information. Like there's more to learn, and I didn't know everything yet. So I had to get that extra 2 years worth of information to learn more and apply that information to what I've been doing with people around the world.
I love that like appetite for knowledge where, I don't know, some people coast through careers. Some people are, well, hey, this is a job and I do it. And it's like, you're like, no, there's more to know. There's more to understand. There's more to figure out. You kept going. Was this when you were in Arizona when you took those 2 years and you went working, or?
No. So I got my BS, my bachelor's in Arizona, and then I actually came back to Manhattan Beach, and I was living here up until just this year. And that's where the fitness company that I work for, it was actually located in Manhattan Beach. I was able to walk to work every day. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And did my master's while I was doing that. Yeah, get my steps in. That's when I was getting close to like 20,000 steps a day. It was great.
That's nuts. I mean, when we were doing our pre-call and you were walking to your wedding venue, we're like talking on the phone. But, so I want to talk a little bit about the degree that you have and how you've put it to work in a very interesting way. So you've worked with very high level professional athletes outside of what we were talking about earlier, which is that core American sports. It's changing, right? Skateboarding was just in the Olympics, but now what was it like to work with, someone like Elliot Sloan, a professional skateboarder who you traditionally wouldn't see them looking at nutrition and how it could help them become a better athlete? We were talking to Aaron Jaws Hamoki, who had told us about the culture of being in skateboarding, where it was about partying and smoking cigarettes and being all part of the gnarly, where, you know, working with someone like Elliot, how did he come to you, or how did you guys find each other, and how did you translate nutrition to that sport?
Yeah. And was your first thing, was it like nutrition for skateboarders, like you just like less than a pack of cigarettes a day? We'll start with that. How did we start? No, but really,
that is a good place to start. You know, with Elliot and with all athletes, they're all athletes. You still have the same common problems where you want to be, first of all, you want to be better, because obviously you're going to get paid better if you can be better. Yep. So you definitely want to be better, which means that you have to start recovering faster, and you have to be able to, depending on the sport, be faster, perform at a higher level. And so recovering faster is a really big one for why a lot of athletes will come to me, because they just can't, you know, they'll feel like, can I curse?
You do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Okay.
They feel like shit after they've done like a hard workout, and they can't recover enough to be able to do that same workout the next day. And even with something like skateboarding, that is a workout. Like you're using your muscles, you're contracting your muscles. You have to be able to build new muscle in order to maintain that level of athleticism. So definitely a huge aspect of that is going to be recovery, and just even being able to reduce the amount of time it takes to recover between workouts. Like that in itself means that you can work out at a higher level, and you can possibly even perform at a higher level, because you can now shorten the amount of time that it takes for you to recover from the previous workout. So that's one aspect. But another, for a lot of different athletes, per body fat percentage can make a big difference as well, because if you don't have that same level of energy, or if you feel like you're slowing yourself down based off of your body fat percentage, then you can make a lot of changes in terms of your performance based off of increasing or decreasing, depending on the sport, your body fat percentage. So those are like the two main areas that typically with any athlete you're going to be focusing on. Is recovery is the biggest one, but then also body fat percentage too.
Yeah, you're like you're literally creating opportunity through nutrition and performance. You know what I mean? Like it's very interesting, where most people don't see it as like, hey, I mean, I guess people do see it as success, but it's like, hey, beyond just being better, it's like we're talking about potential contracts. We're talking about, you know, more, you know, whatever visibility that you need to get you to the upper echelon of whatever sport you might be in, regardless of what it is. It's like, it is opportunity through nutrition. Like you're going to be better. You're going to be more marketable. You're going to be a better figure because of this nutritional value and kind of the education process too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the funny piece. It's the education.
Yeah, I was just saying, even the difference of like second or less than a second for how quickly you can run the mile, you know, for that's the difference between someone making it to the Olympics and not. And that's where your energy levels is going to be a huge factor in that. And how we break down energy, that is metabolism, that is nutrition. So how you eat can largely affect if you're going to be an Olympic athlete or if you're not.
Oh, a second is equivalent to a mile in the 100 freestyle. Exactly. Like my wife just saw this exactly happen in the Olympics, right? Like, you know, you see someone make it back to the semifinals in the top 16 of the Olympics, and she's like, oh, that guy's 16th. I'm like, that guy has a freaking chance. And all these little things can go into it. And so one thing I heard you say back there was like, which ties back to all the videos you've created. You talk a lot about like the science behind things we've said. And when you say something, oh, if you have this, it helps to reduce inflammation. So those little things, I never thought about it with skateboarding. Like you're putting a beating on your body every day, especially with what Elliot was doing with, what's it called? The big air or, large ramps, something like that. Oh my God, I'm brain farting right now. But so he's doing that, and you're putting a beating on yourself. So if you can have food that treats your body well, helps you recover faster and reduces inflammation, that could reduce potentially your use of Advil and Tylenol and things like that, which would harm your body. And so that makes total sense. And I never, ever thought of it that way, which is awesome. And thank you for like opening my eyes there, because that's really cool, because it really does make it's so simple yet brilliant, right?
Well, yeah, especially for someone where it's their career, and their career is to be the best. Like they aren't just casual skateboarders who are, just down at the local skate park. Yeah, exactly. Like it's their livelihood. Like they need to be better than everyone else. And not everyone is going to take their nutrition seriously. but those who do are the ones who are going to be better. Like LeBron spent like what, $1 million or something like that on his whole health routine. Nutrition is a huge component of that too.
Well, and I think also, I mean, when you just look at that, it's like you're so focused on your sport, your craft, whatever it is. It's like sometimes you just, if you're at that level and that's what you do for a living, like being able to like go back and research and understand nutrition is so difficult. So I think
Right.
it's funny. So I guess to kind of lead into where we're going, like, did you create videos? Did you did you create things like that like early on that were kind of educational that you would send to clients? Like how did that process start? Were you making any videos about kind of some of these nutrition exercises, whatever it might be?
You mean like before I started my YouTube channel?
Yeah.
No. I was doing, my whole background was
I thought we had a slam dunk there and you really let me down.
JP's like,
Really let me down on that. No, that's so funny. But some people,
LeBron
well, I mean, you
reference,
said
he's
you were a
like-
director, so I thought maybe, you're like, all right, well, like maybe we get a little film
No,
stuff, do that.
that's what's
I love
funny.
that.
I didn't even
no.
think to do that. It was my mom who told me, like, you know what, you're really great at describing all this nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
You should probably switch over from the blog component of your like career and go over to video. And I didn't want to do that. Like, I was like, ugh, like that sounds like so much work. Like, I don't know, like it just didn't seem like something that would really pan out. And she's like, just do it, like it'll be great. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. And that's how my first video came about.
And so when you made that first, how did you go into that video? So your mom tells you to go do the video. Parents are typically right, even if you don't want them to be, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that happens.
Let's hope.
She tells you to do it. You make the video, and I don't know if you still have, a lot of people don't have their first videos up.
Yeah,
so I don't know
I
if
still
your
have my first video
Okay, so
up.
you have that first video up. So how'd you go around to curating that
I
video?
want to pull this back.
Let's-
The first
yeah,
video
let's-
that I watched today, which I always watch the first, newest,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
the most trending, and a ton of others. But so the first video I watched today was truly your first video.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Smoothie for intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
All caps. You might have reworked that title recently. Who knows? No, just
No,
kidding.
that was
Just
I
leave
like
it.
hit the
Edit it,
caps.
forget it.
You hit the
I
caps.
think that, yeah, I was like, ooh, everyone's doing that. Like maybe I should do that. Like really tell people that this is a blueberry hemp smoothie.
Hold on. So were you for the internet nerds out there? Were you lurking on YouTube? Were you on there like
No,
digest? Because
not
like,
at all.
but it's
I
such a
didn't
great,
know there was-
such a great
I
source.
didn't-
Such a great source. It's
I
got
know,
it's got
yeah.
everything. It's an encyclopedia of all things. So
I
how?
was
turkey.
super
Cold
behind.
So then what made you go with YouTube? We ask this question all the time. There's all these different platforms to go from. It's 2018 when you started your channel. June
Yeah.
7th, I believe it was. June 7th,
It
2018.
could be the
So
8th. It's still.
Yeah, maybe. One or
it's,
the other.
We're gonna leave it out there.
7th. Autumn Bates doesn't know about her own channel. No, I'm just kidding. But so you have all these options, in 2018 of what platform you want to use. What made you go with YouTube if you weren't even on it? Because
It
I've
wasn't
been on
my
it.
first choice. Yeah, it wasn't my first choice. My first choice, I was first on Instagram. I had like a small following on there just from my previous work. And then my whole background was in writing blogs at my previous work. So I was like, okay, great. I know how to do that. And then I literally was like, well, I should probably put a video of me explaining how this works just so it can live on my blog.
Mhm.
And that was why I created videos.
Oh.
I didn't use YouTube at all. Like I didn't realize there's this whole YouTube.
You just needed to
community,
embed
and
it.
Yeah, literally I needed to, if there was a way for me to do it without YouTube, I would have done that and I would have never had a YouTube channel. Like it's
You would have been
amazing how things work
hosting it
out.
through whatever servers that you're using, and in embedded software.
And it would have been
Yeah.
garbage.
It's
It
crazy.
would
Yeah,
have been a
probably
nightmare. It would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
So who told you to do YouTube? Did you figure it out on yourself? Like, how do I get?
No, it's literally my mom. My mom watched, like she's more like in with the tech stuff than I am.
Yep.
Because she watched a bunch of different YouTube channels. I didn't realize that you'd like go onto YouTube and watch YouTube. I thought it was like you looked up how it is that you're supposed to like clean a pot. You look up at YouTube for that. Like
Yeah, how
you didn't
to
go
care for
YouTube.
cast iron.
Right,
We have a guy-
exactly.
we have a guy for you. I'll send you.
Like I didn't realize that like people would go on YouTube and watch it. So when I first decided, like when I first had that first video go out, I was like, you know what, maybe I probably should do more videos. So I think I did like a couple more throughout June and July. I didn't really take it seriously until I don't even know what clicked. I think like as I started to research YouTube, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can really make a big impact on this YouTube thing. Like I can reach a lot of people on here, and this clearly is my medium. I'm better at this than I am at just writing blogs. So I should probably look up how it is that I can grow my YouTube channel.
Well, the growth that you've had from a camera presence, from a structure of a video, I mean, wow. It's in such a short period. It's amazing to see, because from the first video, because we don't typically see someone who has their true first video up there.
Yeah.
Which
Love
is
that.
I seriously, it's awesome. My first video on my personal name channel is hidden. I should unhide it just for fun.
You should unhide it.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? And so to see where you are now and the camera presence, it's like you were a totally different person through
I
the
was
whole channel.
awkward.
You weren't
I
awkward.
was stuttering. Oh yeah, hi.
It's hard.
My name's Autumn. Welcome to my kitchen.
Yeah, but the kitchen now hasn't changed, and it's cool that like to see like you're just you get used to looking at the little screen, like the little hole in the camera, and then you know what's going on, and you get rewarded by what's happening. So you post this video at first, before where you are today. How many views, how many likes, how many things like that were happening on the channel, and you were just posting for how long before you started to get any kind of growth?
And did you notice it too, along with that?
I was about to say, I didn't really look at YouTube for the first couple months. I was just, again, using it as a place to like throw videos on so that I could have it on my website. So I didn't really take a look. I don't know about those first few videos, but when I really started to take it seriously, which was more September, I think, of that year, somewhere around there, I don't know. It's probably, again, because I did have like a small following on Instagram. So I think I would maybe get like 50 views and like maybe 100 for like a good video. But yeah, it wasn't like things exploded right away. It took me until I think a year or about 9 months to hit my first 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, which is a huge like milestone in itself. Everyone we've talked to is like the first 1,000 subscribers is the hardest. After that, it becomes somewhat easier. No feet to be shuddered.
I would have to agree with that, because you have no idea what you're doing. Like, you have to figure out psychology, you have to figure out videography, you have to figure out, like, there's so many things to it that you have to figure out, while also while competing with people who've been doing it for years now. So it's like you're thrown straight into the mix, and at the same time you have to produce really great information.
Were you vlogging in parallel? Like, were you always blogging in parallel with this, and the videos are kind of like, hey, I just did this so I can embed them into the okay. So it's
I still have my blogs too.
Well, and it kind of points the direction to where we are now. I mean, we look at today, the president, and you have 327,000 subscribers, 20 plus million views out there, 2 videos over 1 million. Like, when was that point when we kind of talk about it there, like you hit the 1,000, but then when was the point where you said, okay, maybe we're onto something here?
Maybe this might sound like arrogant. It doesn't mean to come off as arrogant, but I just assumed that I would figure it out. Like, I was like, okay, I've figured out a lot of things in the past, and if I can just research something, I'll figure out how to get there. It might take me 10 years, but I'm going to figure it out. So pretty much as soon as I figured out that YouTube could be an area where I could really share what I have to share, as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, great. It's part of my routine. Like, it's done. Like, this is what I'm doing now, even when I had like 20 subscribers. So from the beginning, I took it very, very seriously, but I just always assumed that if I put out good information, if I'm helping people, like, the people will come. I just have to figure out how to entice them.
I think it's not arrogance. I think you're
Kenny Powers is arrogant. That was not arrogant.
I think what you're saying is what a lot of people struggle with when trying to find a channel, which is you had the channel, you had the idea, you had everything behind it. You knew exactly what you wanted to do, and you knew at this point, because you had been in this industry for so long, you were not going to get bored of it, and you could create content. I think what happens to most people is they start a channel and like, I'm going to review socks. Yeah. And like, I've reviewed 3 socks. I don't know what else to do now. Like, and then they're like, I'm going to do something else. And they're like, oh, but my channel just jumps, or my interest jumps. It's hard to find the passion that you can go for and do for a long period of time.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's something YouTube has changed my life so much where I always want to try and get other people to create a YouTube channel. Because I'm like, if you're excited about something, you will figure out how to do it, and you'll figure out how to like create content around something, as long as you're just always focused on what the viewer actually wants and needs. And if you're genuinely interested in helping that person to succeed, if you just think of that one person, helping that one person, you're going to help thousands or millions of people, and your channel will be successful. You just need to always have that viewer in mind and how you can best serve that person, and more of them will come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you knew your passion going into it, which is so much easier for you. You said, nope, this is what I'm going to do. And like, it wasn't so much, you weren't, probably focused on, you might not have initially been focused on growing the YouTube, but what you did know is that you were going to keep doing it. You're going to keep producing it. You're going to have topics. They're going to go along with this blog in tandem. You're going to kind of build this, you're not all over the place, is I guess what I'm saying. Like, you cover a lot of topics, but you're not like, it's not like you like, all right, today we're playing disc golf. I'm gonna show you guys, like, it's not like you're not like going off on this.
You haven't seen my disc golf nutrition blog yet?
No, but if I promise us this, when you hit, let's look at subscribers at 500,000 subscribers. Let's see the pull-up tutorial come back. The best blog. No, let's see the best exercise to do a pull-up come back, because that's a great video right there.
Honestly, it was a pretty awesome video, because it's something that in general, like, I've worked out in a lot of post college. I had a lot of struggles with going to the gym by myself. Like, I didn't know what to do, even though I had worked out, which is something that, same thing with nutrition, right? We had a coach who would tell us what to do and what to eat and what not to eat. But I was swimming like, I don't know, 5,000 to 7,000 to 10,000 yards a day. You could literally eat whatever you wanted. It didn't matter.
Right.
And so we never had that problem. And then we went to the gym and it was all prescribed. And then I would go to the gym after college and be like, I have no idea what to do. Now what? But then you go to a CrossFit gym or you go to some other gym, and a pull-up is something that is like mundane in our process, because we were taught how to do it, but it's something that no one teaches you how to do. So it is a great video. Yeah. It has very little likes or views.
It's got to come up.
I think it's got to come back.
Right, we're going to get a resurgence.
I agree with you.
1.7 thousand reviews. It's got one comment, and I'm going to leave one more real quick, just live.
Is that my least watched video?
I don't know. We can't sort by that, but we probably can. But it's right in the beginning, and you even said, like, your first video, like, 50 views. It has 92,000 views right now, so I want to put that out there. Second comment to that.
Oh, the first
video.
one.
First video, 92,000. Yeah. So
that's the thing. That video actually still brings views. Like, I still get people who will reach out to me on Instagram, and it's like, I just tried your blueberry hemp smoothie. So
no way.
I guess it's still, my awkwardness still shines through.
Yeah. Well, people love.
You had camera presence. You had a lot of things, and I feel like that goes back to you wanting to become a director, and we should pull that in. Like, you wanted to become a director. Now you are a director. You're the photography side of it. You're the writer of the script. You're everything.
Production studio.
Everything.
The whole thing.
Editor, financier. I don't know. Executive producer. I don't know. I really don't understand the titles on movies. But, so yeah, like, you've built that, and you like did making videos as a when you were younger, did that help get you?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it totally helped me, just because I didn't have to learn how to edit, and that in itself, it can be such a barrier. I'm sure, because like I can even find myself getting confused on how to do certain things, but I've had, what is that, like 8 years worth of schooling on how to edit, how to I don't know, because so much of that doesn't even apply anymore, just because it's now digital. But there's so many things that you have to learn already to do YouTube. Editing, in order to like create your video, that in itself can take so long. So by me having that background, I feel like that helped me leaps and bounds to focus on other areas of YouTube that really mattered.
I never thought about that, because I like we were talking before, I just started using Premiere Pro, and in high school I used Final Cut Pro, and I picked up the software. It's totally different. It's a whole mental thing, but like little fundamental things of knowing what things are called, like, buckets and things like that, all those little things on the screen that come into the software, you just start to understand the fundamentals. So like, you could just sit down and be like, okay, cool, I got this, let me just go through it. And editing is definitely where the time suck is of creating video.
It can
Editing,
be.
thumbnails, Photoshop, all that,
Yeah.
all those pieces that go into the social piece where it's like, all right, well, now I need to go in and I need to go back to my video. And I'm like, oftentimes, like, people are like, well, how do I export just one frame? Because I just want one frame for my thumbnail without doing a print screen. Like, how do I get the full
Right.
resolution? You know what I mean? There's all those pieces
Yeah.
that go into there. So you knew a little bit of this base of how to kind of do this going into it.
I mean, I knew editing. That was all I really knew. Like, I did not do well understanding like all the camera tech stuff, what we were talking about earlier. I still use my same Canon Rebel, whatever it is, like the most basic one that can actually film videos. So I don't know any of that, but yeah, like I had a basic understanding of how to actually edit. And I think that really helped to just excel the learning curve.
Right. It got you started quickly. And so
Right.
on this editing kind of strand that we're on, 2 videos a week. When did you choose to do 2 videos a week? And how do you come up with the content and creation of 2 videos a week? That's even if they're, and we talked about this on our pre-call, even if it's just a 4-minute video, a 4-minute video needs to be
4-minute video is honestly harder, than a longer video, because you have to make it concise. You have to figure out how not to go down rabbit holes. Like the scripting of a 4-minute video, the editing is nice because it's short, but the scripting of a 4-minute video is probably twice as long as like a 10-minute video for that reason.
I would argue the editing could be just as long as the 10
You
minute
probably have
video.
just as much film and you're like, all right, I got to cut it down.
No, I've gotten pretty concise with my scripting because I realized how much of a time suck that editing can be. So I'm pretty specific with what it is I'm going to cover, because it's very easy for me to go on a side tangent. Like if you guys ever watch any of my live streams, I go on like 20 different side tangents based off of one thing that someone had a question about. So I've gotten very, very concise, and that helps to keep the editing a lot shorter too.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you edit on right now? Just out of curiosity.
Well,
You're like, I don't want to give away my secrets.
I still edit on iMovie.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Hey,
no, that's free.
There's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that. I edited on iMovie until last week. So
Yeah.
I commend you on that.
I bring this up because Mike was telling me, he's like Premiere Pro. Like he texted me the other day. He's like, Premiere Pro is like kind of a whole thing. And I was like, yeah. I was like, you can go from like creating a basic video to like, sometimes I'm watching like you can watch movies that are like blockbuster movies where you're like, there's probably some of this has gone through Premiere. It's gone through Premiere. There's a lot of After Effects. I was like, but you can go for everything from like this. And I feel like I know a ton because I've self-taught in Adobe, and I wanted to go down this whole creative path of creating videos and 3D art and, with the whole thing. And it's like, I maybe have 6 years now of this under my belt. And I'm like, I'm probably 10% under the surface of like what you can actually do with these programs.
Right. There's a period of time when I was like, maybe because I do have the background in Final Cut Pro. Like I still have the old software from back in high school. I'm not even sure if it would still like be usable, but like I grew up using Final Cut Pro. I had to learn how to use iMovie, but it wasn't. It was like around early 2020, I think, when the YouTube space was still open, and they have the option for creators to come in and you can edit there and use their software. So like, okay, I'm at this space. I probably had like 100,000 subscribers at the time. Like I'm at 100,000 subscribers. It's time for me to actually use a better editing system. And I spent an afternoon trying to learn Adobe, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like I could spend that much more time creating an awesome video for someone that actually is getting this message across that's still edited on iMovie, and it takes less time. It's easier to use. Like
easy to export.
Was scrapped really quickly after that.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. My only caveat to the iMovie transition for me was I wanted to post our videos in 1080p, and I needed to be able to expand the frame to meet resolution, where iMovie was forcing me to put it in 720. I was like, come on, man. Which is hilarious, because 90% of, I would imagine 90% of YouTube content is on this device right here, which is going to be.
I was about to say my first video that blew, or I guess my second video that blew up, is shot on my iPhone, and I just had gone out on a walk. I was like, I should probably explain why it is that walking can be better than running for weight loss.
And that was shot on the iPhone. So was
Yes.
the I think your first day in What I Eat in a Day.
Wait, what was that?
Your first What I Eat in a Day video.
Yeah.
That was also
Oh,
shot on iPhone.
All shot. Yeah, there's a couple videos of mine that are all shot on my iPhone, just because like I decided to film something in that moment that I think might help someone. I'm like, oh well, this works.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
come on, the camera's fantastic. There's a whole channel. I don't know if you're into car content or not, but there's a brand called Goon Squad. They have 2.38 million subscribers, and
Yeah.
their entire channel to date is still filmed on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I was saying, where ultimately when it comes to YouTube, you're serving someone, you're helping someone, even
Right.
if it's entertainment. No one, the average person, unless you're in the tech community where like you're a tech channel and you're reviewing tech stuff, like yes, you probably should be on your game in terms of that. No one cares. Like, yeah, maybe it's going to be a little bit more crisp if your camera's a little bit better, or if you have like a slightly better audio, like it's going to make a like little bit of difference. But if you're giving really high quality content, some of my worst videos are the ones that absolutely blew up worse in terms of quality.
Right.
And it's because it delivered really great value that they weren't getting elsewhere. And that's all that matters.
That's the key. This brings up a good point. You talk about Instagram earlier. Instagram, it's 2021. Instagram still, if you're nerds about export settings, Instagram 720. If you put a 1080 video or a 2.7K or a 4K or whatever you're shooting, and you put it into Instagram at that rate, it's going to compress that video and it's going to tear it apart, and then it's going to put it back together and it's going to look terrible, right? So you have to have these settings. So it's interesting. Especially when you try to balance your videos, when you're trying to film, and big Instagram presence, you do quite a bit on Instagram. When you're balancing those two mediums, YouTube and Instagram, you kind of have to have, because you either have to crop down and get it down to 720 and export it so it looks good on Instagram, or be at the mercy of these algorithms that are going to compress and completely destroy it.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to a point, like, how do you balance Instagram, YouTube? I mean, not from like a technical standpoint either. That's just one note that, Instagram is still 720, which blows my mind. It's the number 2 video platform in the world, and it's 720p
But they don't need to.
at 30 frames per second, which is astonishing. Anyways, so I guess outside of the technical realm, how do you kind of balance the Instagram, the YouTube, the other mediums?
I have a content calendar. So I not with Instagram. So Instagram, it's really just like if I feel like posting something, or if I feel like going live. Like I don't use Instagram very strategically at all. But yeah, for YouTube, for blog, for my weekly email newsletter, I have a very strict content calendar that I've never once veered from. So I always make sure I'm like 2 to 3 weeks at least ahead, so that I can just keep my sanity.
But that comes from your background at that sports company. I won't say its name, but where you were before. I'm sure there, when you were creating content, helping out with nutrition, helping out with that, you created and calendarized everything. Because now I work in marketing. Content calendar is literally what I live by. I know exactly what we're posting, what we're doing, what we're working through right now. So
yeah, and it's helpful because it also helps you to plan ahead on the type of content people will want at that time. So like there's certain times of the year when people want to learn more about how they can use nutrition to improve their sleep, or there's other times of the year where people really want to learn about specifically how it is that they can lose belly fat with walking. Like there's different times of the year that people want to learn something, and you can help serve them better by knowing when that is and having your content calendar to plan that out.
I'm sure, that makes total sense. And so like you're looking at like, okay, coming out of winter into the spring time frame, let's get the beach. You're doing the keywords like beach bod and things like that. Like you like get ready for summer. And then when you go to I don't know what that period of time is called between Thanksgiving and Christmas, like the holiday
hibernation.
Hibernation. Yeah, I was gonna say that awkward.
It's where you hibernate, hibernate like a bear.
How not to eat too much at Thanksgiving, how to continue on your diet, how to not get overloaded on ham at Thanksgiving or Christmas,
or sharing healthier versions of things.
Wow, exactly. So that makes total sense of like keeping with kind of the ebb and flow. But so when you're talking about a content calendar, are you like, do you build, so you're planning yourself like 3 weeks out, but you probably are at least further for key times, like 4th of July.
Yeah.
There's probably like what to bring to the 4th of July barbecue, like all those kind of things, keto friendly things.
Right.
That
I try to always have 3 weeks worth of videos scheduled, because I just am a big worrywart, and I just want to always have, like, if something comes up, that if I couldn't create videos for 3 weeks, they're done and good and ready to go. So I always have those ready and done. So I'm at least 3 weeks ahead at all times with that. But in terms of actual content planning, I would say it's, constantly 2 to 3 months worth of content is planned at any given moment.
Wow. And so you're already in the whole 3 weeks. Like you have, like, what,
Oh yeah.
I don't want what your September schedule, you're already like, you're thinking about what's happening in September, not today.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was just planning content earlier today, and I was planning for the week of October 1st.
So do you bulk, hold on, JP. Do you bulk record? So we had a guy on the podcast, Brooks Holt. He's a mini golfer. Honestly, fantastic. It's really interesting how he got how he got big. But what he does is he goes on the road for 2 months and he bulks his content. So he does like 10 or 30 40 courses. Then he has 40, I think he does twice a week. So he does like 20 weeks of content. He edits it and he just bulks it. Then the next 2 months he's on. Are you like bulk recording?
I wish I was that organized. I'm not quite, because it does take a lot of work to script out each video. Like each 4-minute video takes about 8 hours total from like beginning to end. So it is a lot of work for each one. So I can at least I'll bulk record 2 videos. I try to get in 3 or 4, but it's usually 2 videos that I'm recording a week. I don't think I would have the bandwidth to do 4 scripts at once.
Yeah, that's tough to do, and it makes sense because like if you're 3 weeks away, that means you're exactly you're continuing that 2 week to a week cadence, and you're just you got ahead of yourself at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where I'll fall back and I'm only like 1 week ahead. So maybe I went on vacation and I didn't have time to film for a week, and then I like had a couple clients back, so I couldn't do my normal filming schedule. So I definitely fall back behind. But then during challenges, especially when I'm doing live streams, because that's another video to script that week, and then also to perform, which then takes away from time that I would have had to script for that week. So like during this time, I'm only 2 weeks ahead. So now that the challenge is coming up, I'll be able to then like bulk and get ahead of that schedule again.
Okay, so I wanna pull the thread here on something you said right there, which was when you go on vacation and when you do certain things. So we talked about this before we started recording, and your content is very, very specific. People wanting to come and get data or drive themselves, like, okay, what can I do? What's the recipe? What can I do? Educational. Exactly. Thanks, JP. So you don't get so much drive into your personal life. Would you think about like diversifying the channel, and you go on vacation, maybe doing a vlog with your future husband, or, bringing people in like, hey, I'm just telling you about my day doing something here.
Yeah.
How to stay on track while on vacation. I mean, you go to Mexico or something, it's like all bets are off.
I literally have that video, actually, pretty much that exact title. I've done a few of those in the past. I just don't find them as fun to film. So like I'll get requests where people ask for more, especially what I eat in a day videos, or like what I eat in a week videos. And I will do them every now and then, but it's really hard for me to remember to continue to film all day. Like that's really the biggest thing is I just am not really good at remembering to film all day, where I'm better at sitting like in front of a camera, knowing exactly what I'm going to be talking about, and filming it all in that 1 hour period of time. It literally just comes down to the fact that I can't remember to keep the camera on all day. But I would do more of that. It's just,
and it also probably adds to your editing time, because then where if you have the script and you have the idea down and you have it written and kind of laid out, okay, I can edit here and it's tight. But if you're going all day, if you're not taking notes on your phone and you're just enjoying your day,
right,
you got to go back and watch that a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is also just one part of my job. So there's a lot of other work that I do within my own career. Like I do meet with clients, I do have the blog component, I work with brands. Like there's a lot of things that I do outside of just YouTube. So to also film, to take what would be an hour filming and then to spread that over one full day when I would have normally had that full rest of the day to do other areas of my job, like meeting with clients, it's not exactly, it doesn't make sense in terms of my schedule because it's already fairly limited.
Yeah, you got to have it all planned out. And on that note, did you get bullied in high school for being a planner girl?
I was not a planner girl in high school at all.
You seem like it
I
now.
I was such a different person in high school. Like I didn't try very hard in school. I wasn't too interested in school in the beginning. I just wanted to play sports and make food. Like that.
Yeah.
That was pretty much all I was interested in at the time. But as I got into college, yes, that was a different autumn.
As it turns out, but I mean, as it turns out now, it's like things are by the planner, things are by the book, and that's what I think that those are kind of those things that help you stay on schedule. See, there you go. That's why I just figured. I didn't know,
the current autumn, high school autumn was not the same though.
Yeah, not the same. And it's funny we talk about like diversifying content and outside of YouTube. Because you do quite a different, you're doing the live streams, you're doing a couple other different things. You have all these things. How do you kind of like balance that in between, and how do you kind of look at your strategy? And obviously YouTube is a big piece of what you do and where people can find you and follow you and do all that. But what does that like diversity strategy look like from a content perspective for you and a brand perspective, which we want to touch on too?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely put most of my focus into YouTube because it is where I get the most impact from. I can reach more people. I feel like I figured it out more than other platforms. I don't think I figured out like Instagram. I hate Instagram so much. I just don't feel
Instagram is trash right now anyway.
But do you think the audience is more receptive? Like the people who are interested in
education
topics that you're covering, nutrition and dietary needs and exercise science, are they more inclined to watch a 10-minute video than follow some, I hate to use the word influencer on
on Instagram? I think there's a way to do it right. Like there are people I follow on Instagram that are in the space, and I think that they do it right, but I just don't have the time to do it right. Or at least I feel, I put like a lot of pressure on myself to be really great at each of these categories, which is why I don't put much emphasis on Instagram, because I'm like, I know that I can't be great at it yet, maybe one day, but I can be great at YouTube, and I can be great at blogs, and I can be great at my email list and being able to give people really great information. But Instagram, I think there's a way to do it. It's just, I haven't cracked the code on that.
Yeah, it's almost like having you have these ancillary pieces that help drive traffic towards what really is the content, and what really people want to digest is your
right.
There it is again. That's where the content lives. That's what they want to do. Come full circle here. But no, I mean that's kind of it. It's like these are kind of other arms of social media. It's like, hey, point to my YouTube. It's kind of the same when it's like you get a couple tidbits here and there, but it's like the real thing is on the YouTube channel. That's where the content is coming from. That's where it lives and breathes. That's where you're getting your education from. That's where you get a little more raw format. It's not this TikTok bullshit. No offense to the TikTokers out there in the world.
No, and I agree with you on that because there's only so much information you can convey in even 60 seconds, which is why I haven't really jumped on the YouTube Shorts whole train either, because I just don't think that for what I have to share, it can get across in that short amount of time. And maybe that's why Instagram hasn't worked out for me, because I feel like I do need a little bit more time to get an explanation across. But yeah, the short form can be difficult to actually teach someone.
I would say Instagram is figuring itself out right now. Instagram has an identity crisis, and they're like a teenager that's just doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, I can definitely agree with like having to figure out how to cut it, because I am very much like, I listen to a lot of books on my phone. I listen to a lot of long form podcasts, but what I do is I break it up into like, couple runs, a couple walking the dogs, doing all that.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm doing these things, I'm listening to my book or either a podcast. And so for me, it's like, it's hard for me to say, hey, how can I break up this podcast into 10 different 10-minute segments and all these kind of things. It's very difficult for me to do that. I couldn't even imagine taking even the 4-minute video and making 4 60-second shorts or things like that.
Yeah.
So it's very, very understandable to be like, you're thinking, how can I condense my 10 to 4, not 4 to 6, that 60 seconds.
Right. And I think that also, at least from a business perspective too, I don't know that the shorts and the reels and whatever, all of those things, I don't know that they're going to be great for helping to actually help grow a business either, because it is so, people are so used to that short format of just going to the next one and going to the next one. Same thing with Instagram. You spend like 0.5 seconds on each picture. You're lucky. An interaction is what, 1 full second, I think, maybe on Instagram. So you don't really get the opportunity to build a relationship with someone, to let them know what it is that you have to teach and what you can provide them with even that 60 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, my kind of final question in that is like, so your whole goal here, I guess, is to build your goal is not to become celebrity, right? And I'm going to pull that from Rhett and Link. I don't know if you watch GMM, but you're not to become celebrity and just get the one-hit wonders. And because I'm sure you could do that, like Keto Coffee, and do like a 60-second reel and do that and get 100 million views or something crazy. But that wouldn't really grow the people who are interested in your channel. You're truly trying to focus on people who are interested in nutrition and fitness and health and well-being. So you want to create content driven to them. Yeah.
And thankfully with my space, there are a lot of people who are interested in that. Like, they do want to learn more. They just don't know where to look, or they feel like there's too much information out there. So it is, with a lot of my videos, there are quite a few that do cast a wider net in terms of what it's actually covering, but I try and give someone information that they weren't expecting, so that they can then see, oh, there's way more to this nutrition thing that maybe I had previously thought of just counting calories.
I mean, honestly, you opened my eyes to that in today's podcast and watching your channel. Like, I can't even tell you how much you've opened my eyes to like what it truly means. And I found the channel through Keto Coffee and the concepts there. My wife, I got to give her credit here. I doubt she's made it this far. Kat, if you have, thank you.
Thanks, Kat.
Yeah. And she introduced us to your channel, but then like, it truly is exactly what you said, right? Like, it's much more than just eating healthy. There's so much science behind it. And I can't thank you for creating a great community here on the community that we love, which is YouTube. And so JP is going to ask our 2 final questions. I don't have anything else, but, oh, wait, I do. I apologize. So I think one thing we talked about this, it was something that was important, and I want to make sure that we cover. So part of the whole podcast itself is inspiration to someone else. You have a couple things in here about like foods that reduce anxiety, that cover anxiety, but there's a whole other thing that you have, which is like the anxiousness of being on camera, being a personality out here. And how have you grown through the past 3+ years? And how have you become a better person? What would you give to someone who is a little bit nervous about, being a little
getting on camera,
getting on camera, like putting themselves out there? How can you inspire someone to get past that?
I think especially in this education space, a big anxiety and a big worry, especially for myself, was always just being an authority in the space and feeling like, am I an authority enough? Like, do I have the ability to speak on these topics? Like a bit of the imposter syndrome. And that's what the anxiety I suffered around that was definitely a big component of. I was never too concerned about being on camera, I think because I assumed no one would watch the videos, so it wasn't too much of a worry. So by the time that people were watching it, I got a little bit better at it. Right.
It's already out there.
But yeah, definitely with anxiety around being like that imposter of actually knowing that information, I think it helps keep me on my toes. It helps me with having this level of anxiety around making sure that I'm not always right, but like on top of what the current knowledge is in nutrition. Even though it doesn't feel comfortable to be anxious around that, it can actually be a tool that you use for your own benefit by making sure that you get ahead of that quote anxiety and always learn your craft, always get better at what it is that you are teaching someone, so that you can give someone the best possible information and you know that you're on top of your game. So it's probably not the healthiest way to deal with it, but I've definitely found that, even though I went through a period of a lot of self-doubt with YouTube, especially when, you know, there are like some guys doing reaction videos to some of my more popular videos. After that, after wrestling with that whole concept, it made me realize that, okay, I can take that to my own benefit and make myself better and make myself a better nutritionist and be the best possible nutritionist I can be, so I can get ahead of that.
Well, I think that goes to the whole theme of everything you're doing, is like fighting the complacency, never following suit. You have to always be challenging yourself and changing what's coming into your body, either through your mind or through your mouth. And
Right.
you know, you can always edit and kind of manipulate the code that's going in there. And I think that's awesome, because it really is got to be difficult once you start to get people who are putting reaction videos, but at the same time, understanding the fact that that's their entire channel, which is sad. That's social media, right? Like,
Yeah,
got to get the clicks, got to get the views. Goes back to what we talked about early on, which is like titles, headlines. The Mediterranean diet is the best diet according to this study. And then you look at the data and it's like a subset of something, right? Not
right. No, yeah. And that was something else that even as like a quote YouTuber, which I don't really feel like that describes me very much, but even being someone in the space of YouTube, like I understand that someone else is doing this for the clicks and they see that this video is trending, and so they want to jump on that trend wave. However, the thing that was so hard to deal with in the beginning is the fact that other people don't understand that, and that they think that there's an actual beef between these people, and that you know, like I've had so many people to this day still ask me, like, do you, like, are you and that guy okay? Like, you don't understand. Like, it's literally for clicks. Yeah.
Honestly, we're okay because I've never met the guy. Like, it's exactly. All through the internet. This is not a real thing. So
right.
Well, I think thank you for that, because that really is helpful. And I think if anyone is listening to this point and they are excited about like starting a channel and nervous, I think one thing that you said that's really helpful is become the thought leader, become a leader in it, do your research, become an expert. Like you did, you got your master's degree in something, you have another master's degree in real life of doing these things for a decade or more. So I think it's awesome. And I really was inspired by your channel, and I can't wait to
thank you
put
so
some
much.
of those things into practice and watch many more videos. I even texted my little sister. She's very much into wanting to find the right diet for herself. I was like, hey, you got to watch this girl, because she will help you find what works for you. So thank you for that. And thank you for bringing a positive influence on YouTube.
Yeah. Thank you for spreading the word.
And it's very much away from, you know, you have your traditional videos and their content, whatever, but this is much more along the lines of like self-help coaching, you know, bettering yourself too, which is a great message. But it's also you're almost giving. It's funny, I look at this and you mentioned chiropractor. I remember my chiropractor that I have now, and he's giving me like this holistic plan of like how to go through things, and here's how you should live your life, and this is why it's going to help you. And I'm like, you're the daughter of a chiropractor. I'm like, this kind of is starting to make sense now, because I'm starting to see a prescription of like how to self-help and kind of how to work through this and like kind of be better about just your overall health. And if you want to learn the education and you want to learn from it, great. If you're going to follow it directly, whatever, but at least you have the information that's out there. So good. I guess we always ask this question. We have a couple questions we'll ask. I just thought of a random one, which was, especially for your channel, like, what do you think your viewers are doing when they're watching your videos? Like, do you think they're cooking? Do you think they're sitting on the couch? Yeah. So what are they doing? I've never asked this question before.
Definitive answer.
But I think we need to learn this. Like, are they on their way to work? Are they commuting? Are they like, what are your viewers doing?
I often get the comment, which I was just like, think is hilarious. People will be like, LOL, I'm eating an Oreo while watching this. Like, it's something.
Yeah, they're like, I'm at the Cheesecake Factory right now, and I was waiting, and I just came across your keto diet, and now I want to kill myself.
What's keto?
That, or a lot of people will like be going on walks. So especially because I talk about that so much. Yeah, a lot of people go on walks and listen to my videos.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. And
Yeah,
Mike,
YouTube
that's a
premium
piece.
members. Come on.
Yeah.
I go for the ads.
Dude, I don't.
Sorry,
Come on.
this is a
I've
connection
been
between.
I've been premium. I've been very angry with I'm a YouTube connoisseur. 95% of my content that I
I'm the
been consuming since
YouTube-focused
2013 is
podcast.
all
I
YouTube.
still watch ads. So
Yeah, and it's like this guy's over here. It's like I will pay for your YouTube. Like we have a YouTube channel. Like I will
do a
pay for your
family
YouTube.
plan.
Which
But
is
sorry.
crazy. No, but I like that because then you can
That's-
mute it, you can close it and put it in your pocket like a
Yeah.
which I can't do.
like an adult, and you can go on a walk and go about your business.
I mean,
no.
I'm there too. I don't have premium either. So I'm the person who has to make sure I have a pocket big enough to that, like I can put my phone in there and it's not going to click it out.
I do the
unbelievable.
I usually walk
I cannot believe
with
you
the
guys.
with the pocket in the front of my shirt, and I
Yeah.
pop it there. Or like luckily
Who
I live in the
are
state
you
of
guys?
Pennsylvania. I live in the state of Pennsylvania, and I have like jackets. So when I walk in the winter with the
Yeah.
dogs, we could do that. But yeah, sorry, I don't know. We're I guess we're sociopaths or something. Who are not.
Yeah. So
Well,
so if anybody's
YouTube-
listening,
once you break
if
1,000
anybody's made it this
subscribers,
far,
your channel should get. This is YouTube. If you're listening,
yeah,
once you
which
get
they are.
1,000 subscribers and you're monetized, you should get a free premium because
Yeah.
then you're
I
only going to
actually,
promote.
yeah.
Yeah, big shout out.
I agree.
Right.
I honestly like had that thought when I probably like 2 years ago when I was like first getting into watching a lot, or I guess 3 years ago, getting into watching a lot of YouTube. It's like, I'm a creator. Shouldn't I get like a free YouTube premium or something?
I mean,
No,
come
that's
on, how
bullshit.
many-
Once you get to a certain point, it's like how much revenue do I have to make you before you kick me back? Hate to talk bad about YouTube, which I would never, ever do, ever.
We'll bring
No,
it
but
up.
I think you should get it.
we'll bring
And
it
by
up.
the way, if any viewers have made it this far and you're looking to sponsor, for $19.99 a month, you can sponsor either Michael Weinstein or Autumn Bates here for a YouTube premium channel. And you're
won't
going to
use
allow
it for
them to
that. I'll
skip
use-
ads. You're going to allow them to put their, if you want to, if anybody's listening to this or for
If you
a
want to
small
sponsor Michael
donation,
Weinstein,
cue
diaper. Yeah.
what was this?
That
Who
is
did
wild.
the sad dog commercial? But Sarah Michelle Gellar, was that her?
yeah. Sarah McLaughlin.
Yeah. Sarah McLaughlin, that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
right, well,
So queued up. No, I got one more question,
Yeah.
which is, well, if you can make it through the ads on your own YouTube, who do you watch? Like, where do you pull inspiration from on YouTube? Do you pull inspiration from YouTube? Is there anybody out there that you're like, all right, shout out them, I follow them, they follow me? Like, do you have any YouTube relationships out there? Do you have any YouTubes that you watch that are related to you? And then a side note to that, what do you watch for just outside of what you do now that you kind of just enjoy?
Yeah, a really great channel that actually helped me get to where I am today that I just passively have watched, never actually engaged. Actually, I did go to like a meetup once for them, so did do that. But it's Think Media. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that.
Of course. Come
What's it
on.
called?
Yeah. Think Media.
Yeah, they're
How to get-
amazing.
How to get
Yeah.
subscribers, right?
Yeah, I still listen to them. There's still always something to learn. And like while I'm getting ready to film my videos, I use it to like pump myself up to like re-excite me around YouTube. So Think Media, Sean Cannell, he's amazing, such an inspiring person, and really great at getting his message across on how he wants to help people too. So anyone who's looking to start a YouTube channel, that's the first thing I send him is Think Media. It's a really great, that and Video Influencers, so which is his other channel, both really
Boom, there you go.
great
Clip
channels to be watching. Yeah. And in terms of what I would just watch for fun, I'm so all over the place. Like I will watch PewDiePie. I will watch like.
This is what we want. This is what we want right now. I want to see where
If you're
like
watching
the
PewDiePie, I would imagine you're also watching.
I want to say like
right.
the fiance's out of town. You're sitting on the couch and you're like, I'm gonna watch a couple of YouTube channels. I want to know what you're going into.
A really big one where I went to VidCon with like this one other YouTuber. Her name is Jade Dharmawangsa. She also has a channel on how she teaches people how to grow their YouTube channel. She's also great. But I went to VidCon with her and she was like, we just gotten to know each other. And she's like, so what's like the embarrassing channel that you watch? And I was even like too embarrassed to say the embarrassing channel that I watched. So I never even told her. But the channel that I embarrassingly love is like this fan theory channel on like Harry Potter and
Let's go.
It's called Super Carlin Brothers. It's so cheesy, but it's something I'll throw on like when I'm just cooking and need something to like laugh at because they do.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Total guilty pleasure. They have like the trivia that they'll do, and I'm obsessed with
You
trivia.
Harry Potter nerd?
Love Harry Potter. course.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Okay, I have a question. I'd like to dovetail off of that real quick, and this is just more into the inside of what Harry Potter is. Is Harry Potter a fall movie or a Christmas movie?
Fall. Oh,
All right.
Ooh.
Oh, hold on.
This has been a question that JP.
This is a big one. I ask a lot of people this outside of podcasting. I've been asking this for a long time.
It depends which one you're talking about. Because the first one,
the series as a whole.
two,
when do you start the series? Because you got to watch them all the way through. You can't just watch one.
No, I disagree. I never watch them all the way through.
We're dealing with a psychopath.
When I first am craving Harry Potter, it's always the third Harry Potter, and it's around Halloween because that is just like a Halloween movie. The whole thing is.
You don't watch them in consecutive order?
No.
Oh.
And that's it for the podcast today. Thank you guys for being here. I had a great time. How
this is
you can't just skip. You have to start from the beginning.
No.
You're a history buff. You got to start from the history.
But I've already seen them all, so I know what's going to happen. It's like you're in a specific mood for a specific type of Harry Potter. Like if you want something like dark and edgy, you go for like the 5th or 6th one. If you want like a Halloween, like kind of lighter,
you're an
one,
a la carte. You're an a la carte Harry Potter fan.
Yeah, I even read the books out of order.
Wow, that. Yeah. I mean,
this is a point of contention. If anyone's made it this far, I'd like to hear from people because this is a pretty big deal.
I understand the concept. I can't say I agree with it, but I'm a series watcher. I think JP is a Christmas thought process on this.
No, I go. No, I like Halloween. I like to start. I think as soon as basically, I think right after Halloween, as soon as November hits, you're all right to kind of turn it on. Sometimes and sometimes it could be right after Thanksgiving as well. You can do it after Thanksgiving as well, but there's some, I draw a hard line.
How dedicated you are. You're working with a tight timeline there, in my opinion, because you got to get to the third one by like Christmas.
You got to barrel through.
You have to have the third one by Halloween because it's like a Halloween movie.
Okay, okay, so there you go. So
is that the one? Wait,
so you would agree
is the third
with
one?
me?
The third one's the one with the giant in the basement.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler. If you haven't watched Harry Potter at this point or read the books, I mean,
if you haven't heard of this thing called Harry Potter,
then go watch. What's
go check it out.
Yeah,
Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure it out. You've gotten there at this point in your life. This is not a spoiler alert. Okay, like
kind of funny though.
Yeah, definitely.
You should watch them in order though. I just don't.
The third one is which is the one
you've never seen it, but yeah.
Okay.
If you have, I still recommend starting from the beginning.
Well, a little out of order.
No, that's good though. So you follow this fan fiction thing? Or not fan fiction, but I guess do you follow any other channels like beyond that? Like do you follow like cooking shows or there's got to be some cooking shows and things like that? No.
Actually, no. Weirdly, I don't follow anything cooking related. It's mostly like anything not to do with nutrition, just because I'm so immersed in nutrition in every other aspect of my life. So yeah, it's like the Harry Potter fan type of things, a lot of just comedy stuff, like Shane Dawson. Yeah,
I don't know who Shane Dawson is.
Neither, but I'm gonna look him up now.
We'll look him up. Yeah,
no. This is good. This is
educational.
This is educational for us, as well as it's also like, who else should we reach out to? Because my whole thing is like the biggest drain of our podcast is like we're stuck within the minds of myself and JP.
Right.
Which is a sick place to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that sick. Come on, we've done 58 episodes to this point. It's pretty good. But it is very focused on like skateboarding, cars, food, things that we enjoy. So like what do you enjoy? And we can expand our
I mean, there's one, you've probably seen him. I forget if I'm saying his name right, but he blew up. His name's Joshua Weissman, I think. He's in the cooking space. And,
it's Joshua.
Yeah. I remember he had, like, you know how YouTube sends out like a monthly thing to all creators, like creator spotlight, like creator on the rise. I remember he was featured in that, and he had like 50,000 subs. I was like, oh, I'll subscribe to him. That's pretty cool. He's a cooking channel. Now he's at like millions. So he's killing it. He's doing
4.72 million, and I've reached out to him. And Joshua, I'm sure you're listening to this. No, but he has some good stuff, and I followed like his spicy ramen. I've followed a bunch of his recipes, and we just had Not Another Cooking Show on last week, which was a fantastic. Cool. That was a good one. But we've got a couple other people. Like I think of one that comes to mind, and especially kind of in your alley of what you do in kind of nutrition, is Ethan Chabowski, who I would also we're also, you know, I'd like to get him on as well, because cooking's a big passion of mine. And he'd like to take recipes and say, all right, here's the recipe. Now I'm gonna make kind of like a healthier version of that and compare the two and do them side by side, and I'm gonna show you all the steps. And he's a real, like, how do you say, like, apartment kitchen startup guy, which I love. I love that gritty, like, you know what, I just got something, I think I'm gonna make something of it. It's very similar to what you did. It's like, this is what I'm good at, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about, I'm gonna stick to it. And Ethan Chabowski, look him up. He's got great recipes. That's like, he'll say, like, here's this recipe that, you know, is going to be full fat. Here's this with some substitutes, some other things that'd be good. And he's actually, I would say he's right along the lines with Joshua Weissman, as far as, like,
you
know, they're it's very interesting. I think he's a good follow. Check him out.
Yeah, I'll check him out.
Cooking could be a great addition to your channel, but that's all. That's all the questions I have for my side. JP, you want to roll us out?
Yeah, no, that's it. I think that's it. No, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you talking about just kind of the origin of, like, you know, who young Autumn was, going through those grocery store aisles, reading ingredients, going back and writing them down, and kind of making those recipes, and how you got to where you are today. It's always funny. We talk to YouTubers all the time, and the most interesting story that's never told on their channels is how they got to where they are. So we really appreciate you sharing that with us and telling us how you got there. And for us, it means the world to us. We love it. So thank you so much for being here.
A 7-year-old director would be so proud of you now, because you really are. Like, you're directing your own film twice a week. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. I love YouTube. I love what it's done for my life. And I love how I get to share and talk about nutrition all day, every day because of it. So thank you for sharing my story.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on.
So 500,000 subscribers. You will see when Autumn gets there, she will be redoing the pull-up video.
Take 2 pull-up video.
Take 2 pull-up video. It's got 1.7
totally
thousand. Yeah, 1,700 views right now, but it's going to keep going up. But seriously, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. It means a lot to us, and it was great to hear your story. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, with that being said, you know,
socials, hit the socials,
like,
Mike.
So everything in will be in the description below. All of her information. We didn't even get to talk about the difference between the name of your brand and your YouTube channel. That will be in the next follow-up video, hopefully when we can do it in Manhattan Beach area. Well, now you've moved. So
I'm in Santa Barbara now.
Santa Barbara. So we'll have to figure that one out. My geography of California is clearly terrible. I don't know if it's close or not, but we will figure that one out in time. So why don't you let us know where everyone can follow you, where they can find you, where you're going, what to look out for, because I know there's something on the future that you want to share here, and let us know. So at this point, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us and follow Autumn for, I mean, it's going to change your freaking life. Like,
be better.
Hit a button, do it, and be better. It won't hurt you. So thank you so much for being on the show, and let us know where you're going.
Yeah. Well, on socials for Instagram, I'm at autumnl_nutrition. So L like ELLE. And then same thing for my website, where I have a ton of blogs, just as many blogs as I do videos, autumnlnutrition.com. Obviously YouTube, just Autumn Bates, the only one I didn't brand. For everything else, just my name. and that's it. So I do have, we talked a little bit about this, I have a free upcoming 5-day smoothie challenge that I'll be launching, where it's like 5 free recipes for everyone that they can check out and participate in, for just a way to dip your toe in nutrition, understand how things work just by changing one meal. So I have that coming up. I'll be sharing it on my YouTube channel, on my weekly newsletter, blog, Instagram, all of that, so you guys can check that out. But I also have my complete intermittent fasting bundle programs that have helped thousands of people at this point now. So that's also a really great place to start if you are new to intermittent fasting, and if you want more of that step-by-step process.
Yeah. And so if you didn't know, everything that she just said is in the description below. as well as links. So you can just go right there, figure it out, join the 5-day challenge, because I'm definitely going to do it. I'll figure it out. I want to try it out. Let's see how it goes.
Should.
But what I mean, what do you have to lose? It's 5 days, right?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
So
and
I'm
it's
gonna check
free.
it out. Yeah, it's free. Exactly. Just like hitting that subscribe button and
ding ding.
So thank you
Absolutely.
so much for coming on and telling your story. This was fantastic. I really can't wait till one day we can get together and just really learn more about you, do a day in the life with you, or do something really cool. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
maybe
really
one day I'll actually film it.
Well, we can film it for you. Yeah, so
you'll be fine.
It would be, it's been an awesome journey with you, learning about how you got to YouTube, and everything to this point makes total sense. So thanks everyone for listening. We wouldn't be here without you guys, and neither would Autumn. So Autumn, thank you, and congratulations on your upcoming wedding. Enjoy the day. It goes super fast.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, really fast. JP, set your date. But Autumn, congratulations on the date and venue choice. It's really super fun. It's the best day of your life. And yeah, it's gonna be great.
We're really excited.
Yeah. I can only, I was there 2 years ago, so it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And then the next chapter, if you guys choose to do so, it goes really quick. The days that you think are fast right now when you have a little one, it's crazy. It's been a year.
Yeah. Well, Trevor's ready with the dad jokes.
He is. He's warming up. He's warming up. I'm gonna give him a 7 out of 10. Let's not get it.
Okay.
Because he's recycling the same joke. He's recycling the same joke. So we gotta get going on that.
But I feel like that's the dad joke protocol, is recycling the same joke. Like that's what makes the dad joke.
Does he have a recycling lawnmower yet? Because if he's not recycling on the lawn, he can't recycle jokes.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But also, and then we'll keep going from there. But thanks so much. Appreciate you being here. Great chatting with you.
Thank you guys.
And learning about what you've done. So
appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.